Book 101 review. Book 101 is all about the books that I've read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He's a social psychologist, entrepreneur, author, producer, humorist, programmer, and many more. No other than Dr. Bo Bennett. Welcome to Book 101, Mr. Dr. Bo, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
Sure. Well, thank you for having me on your podcast. I, as you mentioned, I'm an author. I do many different things. I'm a social psychologist, which basically means that I study human behavior and the cognitive aspects of the way we think. Also, cognitive psychologist, but social psychologist by degree, I should say. Um, I've written many books in the past because I'm also the founder of a company called bookmarketing.pro, where we publish books for thousands of different authors. So I have written over a dozen books myself. And then with the help of AI, I also have like hundreds of books in addition to that. But these are the ones that you're showing right now. Those are the ones that I've written the old fashioned way by hand. Most of my
Mhm.
books focus on they're nonfiction books that focus on critical thinking, logic, reason, psychology, something having to do with the social sciences. Except for my last one that you're showing there, the mostly magnificent memoir. That's kind of like it's a humorous book of a sort of a fictional version of my childhood, but it's mostly true. And so that's what I've been doing. And so I run some businesses, write books, and just enjoying life.
Enjoy life, people. And Dr. Bo, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and your wisdom to the world. And tell us your writing process and how do you do it?
Usually, it's motivated from the inside out, meaning that I don't think, okay, what kind of book am I going to write next, and let me go through that process and do an outline and force myself to write. It doesn't work like that for me. For me, it's I have this idea it's something that I really want to share with others, and it just kind of pours out of me, and I just start writing and keep writing and keep writing, and usually it's something that I finish up within like a month or two of not really constant writing, but writing for at least several hours a day. That's my primary process for the majority of the books that I've written. However, my first book, Year to Success, that was a little bit different because I knew what I really wanted to write in the same way. Uh, but it was a book that I knew was going to take a long time. In fact, it took me over a year to write it. It's a 750-page book, and I wrote like a couple hours every single day, and just collected this huge volume of wisdom, and I put it all together. So that was a little bit different. But besides that, that's kind of my process. It's something that's very easy for me because the knowledge is already there, and it's just getting it out. It's not a lot of I don't push myself. It's not like I'm not the kind of person that has a schedule and say, okay, I need to write exactly a half hour per day. I find like if you do something like that, you're forcing it, and the quality tends to go down. It needs to come from within. So I would caution people who follow that advice. Like, look, if you want to get a book written, focus and do 20 minutes a day or however long. Sometimes it doesn't work that way. I mean, sometimes you're going to
Mhm.
write, it's going to flow out, and you're going to do like 5 hours, 10 hours in one sitting. And so other times you just can't do it. I definitely get the idea that some people are just like let's use the word lazy, and they don't really want to sit down and get started. So I get it. I get like when you the advice to like force yourself to write for 5 minutes or whatever, and that's good because it just gets you started. But if you're not feeling it after like 5 minutes, then just stop and try again. But do try and set a time and say, okay, I'm going to write here, and if again after 5 minutes, if you're not feeling it, take a break, do something else, try again the next day.
Dr. Bo, how did you realize that your writing process is for a specific audience?
Just based on the content that I write, and it's kind of strange too because as you see here, I have over 13 different books, and they're all not the same audience. Uh, there's some crossover, but they are also different audiences. So I'm not the kind of author that has like one mailing list and, oh, Dr. Bo has a new book coming out, so everybody's going to want the book. It doesn't work that way because some of my writing is controversial to certain groups, and some of it is controversial to other groups. So it some I have a lot of readers who really like some of the things I write, but not other things. So it's kind of tricky in the marketing aspect to do that. So it's usually the book defines the audience rather than I don't think of like, okay, who do I want to write to, and let me write books for that audience. It's just, here's my book now, which audience is going to like that book, so it goes in that direction.
Did you outline rigidly or let the narrative unfold organically?
Yeah, it's usually the latter. The writing comes out first, and then I will look at everything that I've written and then put together an outline from that. There's As I mentioned, I've got a lot of books, so I've done different processes for each book. The book that you're showing on the screen, the one right above, or actually, that's not the one. It's called Reason, just not Rules of Reason, but just Reason volumes 1 through 2. There you go, right there. Reasons books 1 through 2. This book was actually a collection of blog posts and podcasts that I've written over the years. So and I think this is a fantastic idea for anybody who does blog posting, like writing posts or a podcast or something. If the information is coming from you, and you've taken the time to write these, put them together in a collection and make a book out of it. I mean, you might as well take full advantage of your content that you have. So that's what I did. This is really a collection of posts over, I think, a collection of about like 3 years of different posts. Whereas I still have another couple of years that I have to add, and it's going to be Reasons Book 1, 2, and 3. I'll eventually update that. So that process was a little bit different in that I didn't really set out to write a book. I set out to write articles, and then I said, "Hey, look at all these articles. It would make a fantastic book because they all share the same overall theme." So that's what I did.
Dr. Bo, do you follow a daily writing routine or do you write when inspiration strikes?
Yep, inspiration. Uh, and as I mentioned before, the whole daily routine thing, I think could work as long as you just give it a try. And if you're not feeling it, don't do it. But I'm not the type of person who needs that type of schedule. Like, I understand that there are many people who do, but not for me, because I'll get the writing done. There's no problem there.
What's your ideal writing environment like?
It's usually just my office. Like, I could really write anywhere. Um, I'm not easily distracted. Sometimes when I get into the writing, I'm really into it. So I see nothing but like my computer screen. that I'm writing. So the things around me don't really matter. I would point out, as somebody who is uh, on the other side of 50 years old, when you do, if you are a writer, you need to get like a really comfortable chair. Um, if you're sitting up straight the whole time with like a bad posture, I know that it's kind of contradictory. When I say you're sitting up straight with a bad posture, when you're when you're sitting in a chair and you don't have a good posture, and I say sitting up straight because my writing environment is kind of like in a reclined type of couch position, so I don't have that pressure on my back, and I'm nice and relaxed. It's a good idea. I know a lot of younger people, they don't have this problem, but they will. There is something called sitting disease, and it's real, and it'll screw up your back for a long time. And I had a lot of physical therapy and exercises in order to overcome this. And if I could go back and tell my younger self something, it would be pay pay a lot of attention to all the sitting that you do. So try to do some standing. Try being reclined. Just be comfortable, but remember that you may not feel it right away, but over time you will feel it. So get up and walk around, take a break. Try a standing desk. That helps as well. In anything, but just don't keep sitting the whole time. If you're a writer, it's not good for the long run.
Yes, indeed. How do you overcome writer's block when it hits?
I ignore it, and by that meaning, I if I'm done writing, I'm done. So I just go do something else, focus on something else. It's that type of cognitive reminding that we have. Like for example, when you're trying to think of something like so intently and you can't think of it, and then like you're in the shower and then boom, it comes to you, or you wake up at 4 a.m. like, that's it. It's because you have to quiet your mind. Everything that's going on, it may just be too busy, but the ideas and what you need are in your subconscious mind, and it doesn't come out until you quiet all the stuff that's going on, the busy stuff that's going on around you. So writer's block is essentially, it could be seen as too many things going on in your mind, like consciously, and that causes a problem when it comes to writing. So quiet your mind, and it's kind of counterintuitive because you think, okay, let me really focus. That's not going to work. Not as often as not focusing. uh, play a video game, go for a walk, just do anything to try to not concentrate. I mean, some people meditate. That never worked for me. I'm not much of a meditator, but if that works for you, great, because that is a good solution. But just basically find some way to quiet your mind by distracting it. Um, Something that doesn't require thought. So don't quiet your mind by watching a sitcom or something, or going through social media. That's not usually good. But like playing a game, um, or going for a walk or anything like that, meditating. That's a good idea.
How many drafts did your book go through before it felt finished?
Um, Depending on the book, it's usually a few different drafts, and it's hard to define like what is the scope of a draft. What is a draft exactly? Like if you make one little change, is that a new draft? Well, that's more of my process. Like when I put everything together at first, that's it. That's like a draft, and then I'll go through and I'll like fix some errors, and I'll fix some more errors. And if you want to call that a draft, I mean, that's understandable. But just keep in mind that as a self-published author who, um, let's say, it isn't a professional editor, you are going to go through unlimited drafts, meaning, meaning that the book is never quite done. And I can tell you this from my first book, I wasn't. I wasn't very well versed in writing in terms of editing and grammar and spelling. And it was back in 2000 when we didn't have access to all the tools we have now to help us do that. And I went through the book dozens and dozens of times, but you have a closeness to the writing when you are editing and proofing your own book that does not help you. You need somebody who's detached from the writing and doesn't know what you mean, but has to literally read the words to get the meaning. And when they do that, they don't skip over words. So somebody else it tends to be a much better editor than you, a much better proofer of your own book than you. So I would certainly suggest a third party. But even then, I had like a professional editors go through it, and there were still a bunch of errors. So it really is a never ending process, unless you have the kind of budget that a J.K. Rowling or somebody would have with a professional editing team, where they make darn sure that there's not one error left. Um, Kind of be prepared that there's going to always be a few things you need to fix.
Dr. Bo, as a social psychologist, entrepreneur, an author, producer, humorist, programmer, what are your short term and long term goals?
Short-term goals right now is to um, just continue growing my book business, my book marketing and publishing business, bookmarketing.pro. Um, I want to keep doing that. I enjoy doing that. Been doing it again for 13 years. Know the industry extremely well. Uh, and in terms of more long-term goals, I like to just get out more books when I'm inspired to write them, and just continue to do that.
Good luck to your goals, Dr. Bo, and looking forward for more success. And what is your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be entrepreneur, an author, producer, or as I saw, social psychologist?
Well, I would have different advice for every one of those groups. So let's just say a more generic advice for the entrepreneur, anybody, or especially somebody wanting to write a book. Um, just get started. Again, with in today's age in 2025, AI can be a huge help for authors just trying to get out there and get their feet wet with writing, and have AI help them along the way. I mean, AI could do everything from write the complete book, just to help refine ideas, um, to just basic spell checking and proofing. So it could be any level, but there's no excuse anymore. Prior to AI, there was a lot of excuses, like not to put a book out there because it takes a lot of time. But now, no excuses. Get out, look up how AI can help. Check out our company, bookbud.ai. That helps new authors get started with AI, and get your first book out there. And that's a great start.
Yes, people stop procrastinating. And if you have the passion to write, and share to the world, just like Dr. Bo. What part of the book are you most proud of and why, Dr. Bo?
Well, let's reframe that question to maybe which book am I most proud of? And I would say the book that you're showing right on the screen now, Logically Fallacious. That book I started probably like 15 years ago. And for the first time, it's a collection of the logical fallacies. It's the largest collection of logical fallacies on the internet, or at least it the largest book collection. And what I've done over the years is I've constantly refined that and kept it up to date, and like uh, use academic standards to refine that book to make sure that that book can be used in college courses, like as a textbook for like philosophy and different psychology courses, for critical thinking courses. And that book has become very popular. It's like number one in the category. It always has been. It's my best seller. So that's the book I'm most proud of.
Congratulations, Dr. Bo. Keep up the good work
Thank
and
you.
looking forward for more and more
Thank you.
best-selling fees. What kind of research, if any, did you need to do while writing?
Well, for that book, it was a lot of research. I had to scrape the internet basically and look at all the authoritative sources that were putting out logical fallacies, and then I had to understand them at a level that I could communicate them to the average audience. Because many of the logical fallacies back then, when I started the book, were on sites like the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, which is the very high level. If you're like just a normal person, it's very hard to understand. So taking those concepts, reading them, understanding them as an academic, and then as a writer who writes to the average person, the average population, reframing all of that in a very humorous and enjoyable way. That was a challenge. So there was a lot of research done there, putting all those together.
Well, very well said, Dr. Bo. So, how do you stay motivated during the long haul of writing a book?
Uh, I kind of think of all of the effort I put into it so far, and that motivates me. And what I mean by that is I feel like when let's say I've spent 100 hours so far writing a book, I realize that all of that work is essentially right now useless until other people could see it. So that really motivates me to finish the book because nothing happens until that book gets out there in the public. So that one idea always keeps me motivated to finish. And it is true, like from a psychological perspective, the closer you are to your goal, the more motivated people are to complete it because of that same type of mindset. It seems more achievable as you get to the end rather than as you get to the beginning. So I just reframe that a little bit. And I don't think of where I need to go, but I think of what I've already done. And that motivates me to finish up.
Dr. Bo, what part of the writing process do you find the most challenging and why?
Part of the writing process most challenging, again, it depends on the book that I'm writing. So let's talk a little bit about some creative writing here because maybe that's where I've find the most challenge with creative writing in terms of for me specifically. It has to do with writing humor, and the challenging part is what I find funny, other people don't necessarily find funny. So there's a lot of different types of humor that people have, and it's trying to take my sense of humor and decide like, okay, should I stick with who like my sense of humor, who I am essentially, and the kind of humor that I have, and just market to the probably the smaller percentage of people, the general population, who share that sense of humor? Or do I kind of make the humor a little bit more generic in a way where more people will get the joke and appreciate the joke? Not necessarily the joke, but the humor. We could call it whitewash the humor that way. So it wouldn't be as funny to people like me who share my sense of humor, but it would be, still enjoyable and humorous to a larger majority of people. So that's a challenge that I always face. Like, what do I do? And my solution to that has generally been, if I find it funny, I'm gonna keep it in there. And I get it that other people aren't gonna laugh, but people who are like me are gonna like crack up and and get to the point where they're crying because it's so funny. uh, but I understand that not everybody will get it or appreciate it, and some may be offended by it, and I get that, and that's okay. But when creating a book, if you want it to succeed financially, if you want it to be like a hit, if you really are concerned about um, the, the number of readers that you get, and you're doing it for that purpose, then that probably wouldn't be the best idea, sticking with your own very narrow sense of humor, and trying to do something a little bit more generic that a larger audience would appreciate. But for me, it's really has never been about marketability of the books. It's been about just wanting to share my writing with the people who appreciate it. And with the exception of Logically Fallacious, I think that that was kind of a combination of both. It turned out to be a commercial success, and I'm good with that. Same thing with Year to Success. That was a commercial success, but most of my other books aren't don't reach that level of success, and I'm okay with that because they're authentic. And and after I'm gone from this earth, the books will represent who I really am, and I'm comfortable with that.
Dr. Bo, thank you so much for your legacy to the world. Keep it up and make more and more empowering books. But before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and of course my book 101 review in fifth season as well, comedy 101 in second season, and food 101 in fifth season too, geography 101 in a fourth season, and my baby podcast law 101 and mental health 101, love letters in third season, and movie 101 in review and music 101 in fourth season, and science 101 and sex 101 in first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. Dr. Bo, what's next for you? And are you working any projects right now or something else that surprise us?
Well, I think the next thing that readers will see from me is the next installment of my Reason volumes 1, 2. It'll be volume 3, which will all be combined again in the same book. That's probably where I will go next with my own writing.
Well, again, Dr. Bo Bennett, thank you so much for sharing your empowering books to the world. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
sharing your creativity and knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your books, your advocacy, or any projects that will come?
Thank you.
Dr. Bo?
Oh, so you could go to bobennett.com. That's where you could find all of my books, my writing. That's again bobennett.com.
It's not available on any
Any of the ebook platforms, right?
yes. So people, let's support Dr. Bo Bennett because if you support him, as I said, more and more and more empowering books to come, more and more empowering advocacy to come. Dr. Bo, thank you so much for your time.
You bet.
Monica people, see you soon.